In the latest update, the Supreme Court today has said the electoral bond scheme introduced in 2018 and the bonds have been sold since then without impediment. The court also added, we do not see any reason to stay the issuance at this stage. Just to recap for all those who missed this, the Supreme Court refused to stay the sale of electoral bonds ahead of assembly elections. The Association for Democratic and Organization Fighting Against Corruption had moved the Supreme Court seeking interim stay on the sale of electoral bonds scheduled between April 1st and April 10th. The Supreme Court today has said the electoral bond scheme introduced in 2018 and the bonds have been sold since then without impediment. The court added, we do not see any reason to stay the issuance at this stage. My colleague Arvind joins us live. Arvind, it's a no-brainer. We're part of the largest democracy in the world, and adding transparency in elections is a right of voters as a matter of right in democracy. But it's murky now that anonymous funding to political parties is allowed to carry on under the veil of electoral bonds. Now, is this likely to further increase illegal and illicit funding of political parties through, let's say, shell companies?
Yeah, Parameshwar, in fact, that was a contention of this particular NGO who had moved the Supreme Court challenging the electoral bond scheme. This particular petition was filed in Supreme Court in 2018 itself, way back in 2018, when the electoral bond scheme was introduced through the parliament, through the finance bill in the parliament. So that particular main petition is pending before the Supreme Court. As an interim application, the same NGO, the Association for Democratic Rights, again they had filed an interim application before the Supreme Court asking for the stay of the release of fresh tranche of electoral bonds that is scheduled between April 1 to April 10th ahead of this assembly, 5 states assembly elections. So that particular interim application was taken up for hearing by the Supreme Court, and Supreme Court today gave its order on that particular interim application alone. So Supreme Court refusing to stay the issuance of electoral bonds that is scheduled between April 1 to April 10. The Supreme Court said that this particular scheme that was brought in 2018, the bonds through this scheme have been issued since 2018 to 2020, and there has been no adverse impact on the elections because of these electoral bonds, and that's why the Supreme Court refused to stay the electoral bonds that are supposed to be issued from April 1 to April 10. But the main petition that has challenged the electoral bond scheme per se, including the question of moving an electoral bond scheme through the financial bill, is still pending before the Supreme Court.
Thank you so much, Arvind, for those details.